Welcome to the Authority File. I'm Bill Mickey, your host and the editorial director at Choice. For the next 4 episodes, my guest and I will be discussing an important topic: how to support students from diverse backgrounds, students of color in particular, to feel prepared and empowered for successful professional futures within and outside the academy. We'll also be talking about how academic publishers can play a part by fostering diverse voices in research in the classroom and beyond. Joining me for this discussion will be Dr. Rihanna Shiri Mason, a research scientist at Georgia State University's Urban Child Study Center and an adjunct faculty member at Spelman College; Dr. Pamela Queen, associate professor in finance at Morgan State University; Miranda Nunhofer, vice president of research at Sage Publishing; and Todd Baldwin, vice president, library editorial and DC executive lead at Sage Publishing. We kick off this series, which is sponsored by Sage Publishing, with a wide-ranging discussion about the diversity, equity, and inclusion database Dr. Mason helped develop for Georgia State University, how Dr. Queen came back to academia after getting her PhD with help from the PhD project, and how Sage as a publisher is supporting undergraduate students. All right, everybody, welcome to the program. Thanks for being here. Dr. Mason, you were instrumental in creating Georgia State University's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion database. Is that correct? Could you tell us a little bit about how that got started and what its objectives are?
Yes. It was an exciting time at Georgia State University, and I was given the opportunity to work alongside of the special advisor to the provost and president for diversity, equity, and inclusion at Georgia State University. At this time, the university leadership made the decision to create Georgia State University's first diversity, equity, and inclusion website. And as part of this website, the database was created as a way to showcase all of our academic programs, multicultural initiatives, and policies which apply to the diverse groups of persons within our Georgia State community. And that includes all of our community across our 6 campuses. To build this database, Georgia State became an early adopter of the Thrive Index tool. This index tool was developed by Dr. Bird and myself. And Thrive stands for T for type, history, or H, R for research roles, responsibilities, and routines, I for identity and inclusion, V for voice, and E for expectations. So the use of Thrive just created a common framework for us to catalog these initiatives, programs, and policies.
Okay, thank you. I understand you did a little partnering with the library there to work on the back end of that.
Yes, yes. Part of the way that we determine what we should put into this database, we did reach out to our library to confirm some information and also make sure we connected resources on the general diversity, equity, and inclusion website as well.
Excellent. And Dr. Queen, I understand that you came back to academia after a career in business, and part of what brought you back into academia was to pursue your PhD, which you saw in an advertisement in Essence magazine for the PhD project in particular. Could you tell us a little bit about your background, deciding to pursue your PhD, and the support the PhD project provided?
Sure. Prior to entering academia, I was part of the corporate management team. Having advanced through the ranks, I have a master's in management and a PMP certification, project management professional certification. And actually, at that point in my life, I had reached the glass ceiling. I was in sort of the upper level management ranks of this division chief and a deputy, but I knew I was never going to be the CFO or CEO, part of that top management team. So when I saw the advertisement for the PhD project in Essence magazine, one of my favorite spots to go for beauty tips and dating advice and also career guidance, I really connected with the PhD project's premise that the diversity in the boardrooms in corporate America will not happen without more diversity in our business schools. And
Mm.
so I seized the opportunity to go back to academia so that I could train future leaders of color. And so the PhD project is administered by KPMG Foundation. It's really an outstanding support program. It focuses on helping African Americans, Hispanics, Native Americans, who are the most underrepresented groups in business disciplines. But the program helps you with identifying what to expect as a PhD student and a future professor, how to overcome and avoid some of the obstacles. But they're really great at helping you to network with many of the, what I would call the heavyweights of academia. And the program follows you from a PhD student, from your first year through your comps, through your dissertation phase, and through your promotion and tenure as a junior faculty, trying to help you understand how to balance teaching, research, and service. And then as a seasoned professor, you're expected to be mentors and advisors to new students coming along.
Okay, so the PhD project follows you all the way through. So even after you get your PhD, you're still connected with the organization, correct?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Todd, I'm going to jump over to you. Can you talk about how SAGE supports diverse undergraduate students as a publisher?
Yeah, so I think the important thing for us is to really engage with students based on their interests and where they're coming from. And so that's something that we've really worked hard to try to do in recent years. And I think our business work, our business discipline provides a great example. We focus a lot of our business publishing on our case studies. So that's where a lot of that comes. Most students from any school are not going to go into Fortune 500 companies. That's not their intention when they get into their undergraduate work. But rather they're looking at going into startups or family businesses. And so we're trying to prep them for the real world they're going to be going into. So lots of times that real world can involve uncomfortable situations of the kinds to which Dr. Queen just referred. And so we're looking for authors that can help them to deal with those situations where they might be the only minority in the room. Again, Dr. Queen is an author in our case study collection and really has contributed to that. But we're also looking at, for example, women in banking, and we have a case study on women shared challenges and different paths to leadership. We want to prepare students to understand other cultures that they'll encounter in the workplace, and looking at things like engaging in cross-cultural communication, I think, is a really important part of that communication in general, being an important business discipline. There are other ways, though, and other mediums that we're doing more and more of. Video, as we know, is now everywhere in the classroom, and that's an opportunity for us to support undergraduates. In our video, we try to transport students to the real world of using their skills and learning in actual employment environments. And so we have lots of scenario-based videos that aid with that, looking at an array of different kinds of context, organizational context. And part of this, and we feel it's crucial, is to show a range of diverse lived experiences. For example, women in the tech industry or in the Army, or visible minorities in the banking sector. And as we move into more narrative-focused content, and video is that, we think we open ourselves up to the ability of diverse populations and scholars to really speak to their experiences and show themselves as being role models for students. So we're looking to find and film people who resonate with those different backgrounds and experiences. I also want, we also do textbooks, and I just wanted to share with you that we're, along with a lot of faculty who are auditing their courses right now through a DEI lens, we've also been rethinking our textbook publishing. And the idea there is that it's going to reflect a wide-ranging story. So we're asking sensitivity questions to our peer review process and have discipline advisory boards of experts to help us with that in-depth content reviewing. We also want to make sure that students benefit from a diversity of voices, and that obviously means recruiting more diverse authors. And I would just note, too, that it is not just about ethnic diversity or gender diversity. It's also, we look at neuroatypical scholars speaking to their own experiences with mental illness and how they analyze how mental illnesses have been misunderstood in both academia and media representation. So we try to touch a lot of students where they live and find content that really resonates with them so that they can engage with it.
Excellent. So Todd, I'll stick with you real quick. And is there anything on the journal side? Those are often targeted, to practitioners, researchers, or professors. But is there a role for thinking about students in that world as well?
Yeah, I really can't speak to the journals piece, and I know that we've talked about how that the opportunities there are probably limited. But actually, one question might be if Rihanna or Pam have had any experience in guiding students towards journal publishing.
So, of course, journal publishing is important for our PhD students and some of the masters we get involved with, but we're always trying to make sure that we can find journals that some of our PhD students can, and junior faculty as well, but mostly our PhD students can write to or get published in. And so that's really been one of the challenges, especially when we start talking about some of the top journals. A lot of them are associated with various conferences. And so having that pipeline to certain journals is something that's very helpful to know. But we do have to work with our students, especially the PhD students, to get published.
So I just want to echo what Pam just said. Definitely working with students at each level of their academic journey is very important. My experience has been working with students in my lab and at my center at the undergraduate level, also at the master's and PhD level as well. A lot of the work that I have done, if it wasn't just project related, because students were working as graduate research assistants, it was also through mentorship opportunities that were provided through outlets like PsyChi, the International Honor Society for Psychology, or through a special subcommittee at one of our regional psychology conferences, the Southeastern Psychological Association. We actually have a subcommittee called CEPO, CEPO, which stands for the Committee for Equality and Professional Opportunity. And that's a place where there are specialized programs during the regular meeting where publishers have come in to provide information, give journal suggestions, particularly at the undergraduate level. But I also know PsyChi pushes, information to the PsyChi community about publications as well. And we've been having conversations about how to make sure that there are representatives, like Pam said, at some of the meetings where students who are members of academic pipeline programs can hear this information as well. So I know, for instance, the Southern Regional Educational Board Doctoral Scholars Program joins with a community of other students, and they have opportunities for graduate students and alumni to hear from publishers as well.
All right, excellent. Miranda, did you want to chime in on anything?
Yeah, I was just really just to echo that comment really around publishers doing outreach work with students. And that's definitely something that we really engage with, particularly like postgraduates, early career researchers, just really basic information around how to submit to a journal, how to choose the right journal. We do a lot of that at conferences, and we also go out to faculty at campuses and do those sorts of talks. So just to because it is a really steep learning curve often for the students to understand the process.
Okay, excellent. You just heard from Dr. Rihanna Shiri Mason, a research scientist at Georgia State University's Urban Child Study Center and an adjunct faculty member at Spelman College, Dr. Pamela Queen, associate professor in finance at Morgan State University, Miranda Nunhofer, Vice President of Research at Sage Publishing, and Todd Baldwin, Vice President, Library Editorial and DC Executive Lead at Sage Publishing. Sage Publishing is the sponsor of this 4-part series of the Authority File. Join us next week when we continue our conversation and talk about how we can support students as they move into professional careers in academia and the corporate world.
For example, we're developing a new model on data analytics It teaches students how to do qualitative data analysis using an inclusive lens, which of course then they can use in their career as researchers. So one of the things that we really want to do is help them to understand how to do research, to make them comfortable in doing research that they want to do and research that they believe will have an impact. So that I think students are idealistic. They want to do great things in their lives, and we can help them to understand how the research can advance that.
If you like what you hear, rate us or give us a review on your podcast platform of choice. As always, sponsorship and advertising for the Authority File podcast are handled by Choice's advertising manager, Pam Marino, and all of our episodes are produced by Choice's senior digital media producer, Mark Dirks, and digital media assistant, Sabrina Kofer. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.